There's a storm coming in. I think one of my pegs might have snapped. Oh dear. Oh, this is actually really quite vicious now. Very sad. It does appear that the shop is not open today, which is a shame. I was very much looking forward to the customary brownie and bakewell. What a pisser. Anyone who follows my channel will know that I've actually already done a video of a wild camp up Egarn. Today's wild camp though is going to be quite different, I think. Never get bored of looking at that. I do love this place because it's just so accessible. You just pull up, get out, start hiking. So the reason why I've decided to come back to Egarn is because I know the place really well, and I know that I can just crack on, get up to the top, and there's a camp spot that's almost always free. While I would have liked to have camped somewhere else and had a bit of an adventure, I'm actually starting off really late. It's about 3:45 now and the sun sets at past. So I've maybe got an hour and 20 of light before I need to switch that head torch on. That should be enough time to get me to the summit and then pitch in the dark. There's a storm coming in and I think it's going to be around about 35-45 mile an hour. Now that might not sound like a lot, but trust me, that's actually really quite severe to be trying to camp in. Generally speaking, whenever you hear people say that they've been out in 60 mile an hour, 70 mile an hour winds, generally speaking, they're talking shite. 60 mile an hour wind, it's hard to walk in, let alone pitch a tent in or stay in a tent. And I'm not saying that people don't do this, and I'm not saying that tents aren't capable of it. I'm just saying that most people really overestimate how windy it is. So usually when you hear someone say, well, it's a 60 mile an hour wind, it's probably more like 40. So even though I've owned 11 Hilleberg tents and various other tents, and they've all been put through the paces, I'm actually a bit of a fair weather camper, to be honest. I don't ever deliberately set out to camp when it's going to be dire weather, but I do believe that your equipment should be able to protect you from the worst case scenario, especially in the winter. At any time of the year, the weather can change, but in the winter, this is much more likely and often much more severe. So the tent that I use, which is the Trekkertent Saor, is actually made by a small cottage company. So while there are people who have been out in severe weather with it and tested it, it's not really got the same reputation as something like a Hilleberg. So I think it's only prudent for me to go out and test the tent just to make sure that it can deal with severe weather if it needs to. Not only am I out today to give my tent a little bit of a test, but I've actually upgraded my entire winter sleep system. And previously it was really good, there was nothing really wrong with it. It was probably just a little tiny bit heavier than it could have been. Well, more importantly, a little tiny bit bulkier. Now I actually have a review of the Trekkertent Saor. If anyone wants to watch that, I'll be putting a link to that at the end of the video. Bloody hell, I tell you what, talking constantly while you're going up hills, that's definitely a workout. Just making my way up the staircase. I'm just blasting up here. I'm not going to be doing too much in the way of video recording today. If you're interested in the route and you want some more information about it, I'll put a link to the summer wild camp I did at this location at the end of this video. Just on the last little section of the staircase. So it's ridiculously calm, not a single breath of wind. It just goes to show you exactly how quick conditions can change. The sun set about 20 minutes ago, so I think I've got 30-40 minutes of light left before I need to put the head torch on. I just love how alien mountains can look in the right conditions. Well, that's a giant pisser, isn't it? It's really boggy back there, and I've just gone right up to my knee. Luckily, I didn't fill my boot up completely with shitty water, but not ideal for when you're doing a camp, having a wet sock. Still not a breath of wind. quite surprised, but I ended up snapping one of my carbon fibre tent pegs. So I'm not happy about that. Luckily I did bring 2 spare ones, so I was alright. It was a little bit challenging getting the tent set up because the pegs just wouldn't go in far enough. You could get like 1 or 2 in, and then the rest wouldn't go in properly. I managed to get it done in the end. Obviously the 4 on the tent are the ones that are like they're in a particular place. You can't really move them around. You've got a lot more leeway when it comes to the guy lines. Did build up quite a bit of sweat, so all my clothes are damp, so I've had to change into like some like kind of thin base layers and things like that. It's always a little bit of a faff. It's funny camping really, because you romanticise it and it's like, you know, this amazing thing in your head, but really it can be quite claustrophobic and a bit faffy, but it is fucking brilliant and I do love it. Right, so I'm gonna be quite naughty, I think, and I'm gonna cook inside. I've checked the forecast and it looks like it might end up being 40 or 50 tonight, maybe tomorrow morning, but the next day, bloody hell, it's going to be 100 miles an hour, so let's hope that that doesn't come forwards, because that will be quite bad. So in the winter I use a remote stove, because one of the biggest things that I find in the winter when it comes to cooking is the gas canister goes too cold and then the pressure of the gas just disappears. So what I found is the best solution really is to just have your gas canister in your sleeping bag or on your lap, and then the stove just being remote. Works much better. Right. Oh my god. I haven't brought a lighter. Well, that's a fucker. I think / hope I've got an emergency lighter. Boiling quite nicely. It's been quite a while since I've had a camp that's not been good weather. So in a way I'm looking forward to it. Like it's always a bit of fun. It's now 25 hours since I last ate, and I really don't feel that hungry at all. It's nice to eat in the tent; it's kind of part of the experience. But just thought I'd show you as well the little bit of the quilt here. So this one underneath here, this is like the -17 quilt. This is down, really thick, and then on top of it is a really thin synthetic quilt that just goes over. It's actually doing a really good job of kind of trapping the moisture. So the outside of the synthetic quilt is pretty wet, pretty damp, and if I go on the inside now, the down, it's absolutely bone dry, which is really good. So I'm quite impressed with that. I think I'm just going to leave this and I'll get back to you when the storm kicks off and see how it goes. About 12:30 and the wind's starting to pick up a bit now. It's gusting at the moment, about 25 miles an hour I think. Tent's holding up fine though, it's like solid as a fucking rock. That wind's getting steadily stronger. Can't imagine I'm going to get that much sleep tonight. I think it feels like it's maybe 25 constant now rather than gusting. 1:30. Wind's still picking up and starting to snow. Exciting times. Oh dear. I've just had a little look out the window to check, but I think one of my pegs might have snapped because I can hear something like kind of scraping on the outside and the wind picks up. So I think one of my guy lines might be kind of rubbing around. Oh well. Oh. This wind is picking up now. It's very gusty. So I'm tired. I've had almost no sleep. It's really gusty, so just keep shaking the tent about a bit, waking me up. It goes eerily still. When it's quite literally just completely stopped now, this wind. And then it's just going to come back with a big vicious gust. Oh dear. Now this is actually really quite vicious now. And it's raining as well, which is a bad combo. Don't really know what to do. The tent feels like it's holding up, but I mean, if it fails, I'm going to be in the shit. That feels quite a lot stronger than 35, 45 miles an hour. It's now 7 o'clock in the morning, and this wind has really picked up. Feels a lot stronger than I was expecting. Yeah, we're going to see what happens. Fingers crossed. Well, it looks like I've made it through the night. Maybe just have some coffee and then pack up. Well, almost back at the car now. It's quite an eventful little excursion there. So, conclusion really is that I'm very impressed with that tent. Really impressed with the sleep system. It did exactly what I hoped it would. It was very warm, and it was absolutely excellent at transporting the moisture to the outer layer and keeping it away from the down. It was really interesting as well because the outer layer kind of goes all the way around the mat. That's the way that I've done it. That really does block all of the drafts, so I was actually able to sleep most of the night with the main quilt open, so it was actually really quite comfortable. I was able to toss and turn at will.